which was 12 African countries, two from each region or something, coming to India or going there. So 2008, under Prime Minister Manmohan, we started this. 2011, we did again. 2014, he said, I want all of Africa to come. And all the diplomats said, no, it's not possible. He said, postpone the summit, I want this. So the summit was postponed from 2014 to 15, and he gave a diktat to all of us. You have to get all the countries. And we struggled, finally we achieved it in 2015. For the first time, all 54 African countries came to India, their presidents, etc., had an engagement with India. So again, you have to think big. Thinking in small steps is for ordinary people. Leaders, they take calculated risks, they think big, they inspire you to think big. So you know how important that was, that in 10 years we still haven't been able to get again the next summit. So you can see how difficult it is. But yet, a fresh Prime Minister is telling, no, do it. And he pushed all of us to do it. Somehow we managed, partly because of our own ingenuity, partly luck, whatever you call it, God's grace, good fortune, whatever else. So, again, it is about taking this, thinking big, pushing your team to do. I will give you one last thing. Do you know what this photo is? You can see the photo, I presume. So, this Prime Minister meeting somebody. I'm certain if you tell me this, you are the smartest people around. Even Sudhakar can't tell this. This is the president of, I think, Uzbekistan. Of course, you will not even know his name. Is it Uzbekistan? Where is it? It's a small country, etc. No, Nur Sultan Nazarbayev was the president of Kazakhstan. This is Uzbekistan. So let's leave it aside and see what did he do. So, you know, this was a case where there was an Indian national, Kulbir Jadhav. If you know, he was in in Pakistani prison, and we wanted a judge to be on the ICJ for his case. His name was Kulbhushan Jadhav. And so we said we must contest an election. All of us said, hey, elections are not like Indian elections, 2 months, 3 months, etc. It takes years to plan for it. All other countries have planned. So he said, don't worry. I was to be the ambassador there. They called me from Delhi and the Prime Minister said, I know you don't want. I know you think we will lose. I know that you came to say no. The answer is that doesn't count. You ask me what you want, I am ready to do it, and you must fight the election. So we can't question the Prime Minister of India. Reluctantly, all of us said, okay, we'll contest. So just to be pushing him, we said, sir, you must also deal with presidents and all. We can't deal always at our level, you must also push. He said, don't worry, I'm going out somewhere in July or something, I'll start from there. So the first person he met was this president of Uzbekistan. We hadn't yet announced that we will be contesting for the ICJ. So he met somewhere in Pakistan or somewhere, and then next day I get the ambassador of Uzbekistan coming to my office with a letter. I said, what is this? He said, I understand you have a candidate for the election of the International Court of Justice. My president has told, go today and give the Indians the letter that we support. But I said, we didn't announce it yet. So he said, don't worry, I just wrote, whoever is India's candidate, we are supporting. So the point I want to make is, leaders don't only say that they are willing to do. Because no teams work if leaders don't take the initiative. So it was clear that he didn't tell me, he's the Prime Minister of India, he can said this and said, chalo, go off, ambassador, go off. But he led from the front, and lo and behold, we did nobody expected it. We beat UK, all others, and that ICJ election, it will never happen again in the history. Because we were a small team, but it was the Prime Minister leading from front. Nobody knows or don't know that the Prime Minister is leading. And he would say, don't worry, I've told you. And he has his own ways of dealing with it. So leaders lead without taking credit for it. Everybody thinks, if you see in the United Nations and all, there's so many things saying India leads this and all, there's no name of the Prime Minister of India. But I can tell you as an insider who led that campaign. So if you think that your leader is doing this without even announcing he's doing, how much of a boost it is to all of you to deal with it. So political leadership requires you to take the offensive and do things that you ask others for. One last thing. Do you know this gentleman? Not a gentleman at all. Anybody tell me his name? We talk about terrorism so much. Masood, somebody said half name. Masood Azhar. He is the guy. Did you see Netflix films IC-814? How many saw? So who is the chief who is rescued in that as a hostage deal? Masood Azhar. We traded him, he was in Kashmir jail. We traded him because they took a plane of ours, hijacked it to Kandahar, and there they traded all the people for Masood Azhar and two other terrorists. So this guy, this is in 2000, at the dawn of this 21st century. 20 years or 17 years later, we never forgot. We have to get back at him. So we tried many times to designate him as a terrorist in international organizations. It was failing because China used to say, no, we will not, we will veto it. Come 2019, I had gone in 2015 or so. I also tried in 2016, it didn't. My predecessor tried, my predecessor's predecessor tried, my predecessor's predecessor tried. It didn't happen. So we gave up saying, it nahi hoga. Then it just happened, we had an opening. And so I said again, chances are very big, but it's a risk. So as usual in India, we have to take it to our political leaders. So we took to Mrs. Sushma Swaraj and then to the Prime Minister, and we told there's a risk we may lose. He said, don't bother. Inherent in taking a risk is losing. So I want you all to try again. This is the fourth or the fifth try. Generally they say 3 times, leave it. 5th time, he said, no, go ahead. After that, elections were declared. And so we thought now we must do something very different. So what we did was, every time China used to veto it in a closed room. So just for to worry them, name and shame, we said, okay, you want to veto? We want a public meeting and you will tell in public that you are vetoing a resolution to designate a terrorist, and this is China's public affairs, it will be a disaster for them, you do it. Suddenly they got worried, because everybody has a price. If the price is in closed doors, we all do what we want. When you are on, say, social media without a name, you can write what you want. The moment your name comes, you are a little cautious. The moment you have to do it in college, you will not do it. Because everybody knows that the price keeps on increasing the more you lift it. So we said, so we know that China may veto, we will lose. But the Prime Minister said, okay, you lost 4 times, losing 1 more time, it's okay. Try it and do it publicly. So we raised the bar so much that the Chinese said, okay, let's negotiate now the date. So first they said, oh, you know, your elections have started, let's do it after the elections. We said, what does that do with our elections? They kept on arguing. Finally, on May 1st, they agreed and we got it done. 5th time after 19 years, 5th attempt, it happened. So what's the learning for us? Don't give up and think time is gone, let's forget it. Because you have to keep trying in international diplomacy. Like in life, you will see that the more you try, the chances of you improving are are going to be only better. So please remember that don't give up. Leaders don't give up. They have the willingness to take risks, they have the thinking to keep it old things to keep in mind and to keep trying. So let's try and close this discussion we had about leaders and thought leaders and everything else. What are the big takeaways? So generally leaders don't focus on diplomacy. Like all of you, before today, diplomacy is something for, why are they calling him? Why is he coming and talking to us about all these things? But once you join government, for all leaders, foreign policy looms large. And you know why all these foreign service officers, what is Dr. Jaishankar? Foreign service. What was Mr. Hamid Ansari? Foreign service. What was Mr. K.R. Narayanan? Foreign service. Tell me any other service which has so many people in public service. Because they engage more with leaders, because leaders want to engage on foreign policy. So, if you are the finance secretary, you will meet the Prime Minister of India once in 6 months during the budget or before. When you are the foreign secretary, everybody comes, you are meeting him. Everybody comes because they need to understand better. So, just remember that for leaders, foreign policy is new, therefore they will invest more. It is normal. You also, what you find it difficult, you will invest more. What's the second takeaway? Nobody is satisfied with status quo. Otherwise, they wouldn't contest elections and win this thing. They all want to change the status quo. And if inactivity is not the option, what will they do? They want to do something, even going against the flow. I gave you 2, 3, 4 examples of how leaders told us, no, you have to do, and we all, like good civil servants, adjusted and did it. So all leadership is about taking risks, about sometimes going against the flow. So don't feel bad if you have to tell your friend, sorry, this doesn't work for us, this is a new way, we have to do it this way. It's normal. What's the third thing that you should take away? So trust. Here you have a country like Uzbekistan, it was a dictatorship, it remains a dictatorship. We are a democracy, but international relations, individual equations are important. And there is no talk, oh, he's a leftist, he's a rightist, it does not matter. So, when you make friends, don't think, oh, I will only make friends with left of center, I am left of center, I am right of center, I won't. All good leaders, if you want to promote leadership in you have to forget about affiliations and have cordial relations with everybody. Finally, all diplomatic options are suboptimal. There is no such thing as a win-win. Nobody wins win-win. You lose some, you gain some, you will never get exactly what you want. 100% marks are not there in diplomacy. It's there in accounting, it's there in commerce, it's there in mathematics. It is not there in social sciences and in diplomacy. So, learn to be understanding that suboptimal solutions will be there. You have to make the best of the available choices. So, do you know what is a VUCA word? I learned this only from MBA people. Anybody saying what is VUCA? Loudly stand up and say. There's 4 words in that VUCA. Yes, sir.
Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous.
Perfect. See? So, all MBA people think the word is a VUCA word because it's so complex. Every day there is a saying, it's attributed to Lenin, who said that there are decades when nothing happens, then there are weeks when decades happen. You are now in that time. Every day you open the paper, something new is happening globally, something is changing. It's a VUCA word. That's what all business people say. when they are dealing with business outside, said, be careful. This is a VUCA world. So what is a VUCA world? Let us see. Because this is what. So a VUCA world, look at the world in the last 4 or 5 years. What happened? Can you tell me what it is? Black swan. Tell me what is a black swan? White swans are there, black swans are there. Somebody said black swan. Tell me what is a black swan? I'm waiting for answer. Come on, Baluka. I used to go through this thing, always admiring about this college. That such a wonderful college. I wish I was inside there. I never got the opportunity. Today I got, so I just clinched it, thinking that I am coming to learn from bright students. What is a black swan event? Nobody? No, again I am seeing that all the 20th century people are getting it right. 21st century born, tell me what's a VUCA world? Or what is the black swan? Black swan is a rare sighting. So a rare sighting, when it happens, is called a black swan event. That nobody thinks is going to happen, suddenly it happens. So COVID, that's the black swan event that happened to the world. And so in the last 4 years, now I'm not even talking of 25 years, we had a black swan event. Next, what else did we have? We have a world where there is fighting more than cooperation. There is a war in Ukraine, there was something in Gaza, tomorrow something trade action is happening. So more than cooperation, there is combativeness, there is conflict. So this is the world that you are now inheriting. And somebody says that you are going to have a grey rhino coming. Tell me what's a grey rhino? Grey rhino. You told just now about the black swan. What's the grey rhino? Okay, now it's open to everybody. Can any one of you tell what's the grey rhino? Come on. We are on the verge of a grey rhino. What's a grey rhino? I'll tell you. The black swan, as was told, it's unplanned, suddenly new thing comes and it takes you by surprise. Grey rhino, rhinoceros are not new. All of us know that there is a rhinoceros. All of us know that it's a powerful animal. All of us can see it coming, yet we do not pay attention to it. So, some people say Donald Trump presidency is the grey rhino event for the world because it can puncture the world. So, if you think the black swan is difficult, if you think that cooperation and conflict is the way of life, be careful of the grey rhino. You are all international, you are all commerce students. The grey rhino is more dangerous than the black swan. Go back and look, ask your professors, they will say, of course I told you, did I teach you in the class that day? The grey rhino is also a commercial term. We in international relations, as you can see, absorb everything. We took off educationists, we took off soldiers, we took off scientists, we are taking off commerce, we are doing everything. We just look for opportunities, here we are. So, commerce students, please be prepared for the grey rhino and remember the lessons of leadership you learned because that will help you tackle the grey rhino. I think I will leave you with that thought that leaders are also human. They cannot change decisions taken outside the boundaries because they are national leaders. It's not that they have legislation right to change outside, but they will mitigate and reduce the impact. So when you judge anybody, remember to judge them only are they mitigating and reducing the impact rather than saying we should have gone and caught Donald Trump and given him a slap. What is Donald Trump doing like this? No. Laws only work within national national boundaries. International issues you only can do and prepare to reduce or mitigate the problems. So don't be too harsh on your leaders. Give them the freedom and the space. They all are doing the best they can for our country, and I hope in 2047 when Viksit Bharat becomes the norm, all of you will remember some of these things and implement it in your life. So I will stop at that. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to engage.
The session is now open for questionnaire. Students, if you have any doubts or queries, Sir is ready to answer your questions.
The hand there.
Please raise your hand.
Or was it just tiredness?
I will ask the 20th century guy asking you a question. I have two questions. You said that diplomacy is art. How do you maintain through science as well? That is my first question. Second, you said that all options are open and we have to choose. And how do you calculate the risk factor among all the, because in commerce we do a risk analysis and choose the one which has got the minimum risk. But when you have too many options, how do you say, okay, this alternative may be the best for the country?
Yeah, I think both wonderful questions becoming of somebody from the managing committee. So let's start with how does a art become a science? I must confess, never the twain will meet, but you can move an art to being a skill. And a skill is learned. So let me tell you, skills are actions that you can learn through repetitive effort. So what you need to do in any skill, like you're doing maybe problem solving, you can learn problem solving by practicing, or if you are interested in cricket, so if you want to hit a cover drive, you can practice till you get it right. There is no easy solution to transferring an art to a skill. You have to practice. And there are people who say there is a 10,000 hour thesis of getting the skill right. The argument is you have to do anything you want for 10,000 hours, then you get it right. So if you want to be a grandmaster like Gukesh, you have to play chess for 10,000 hours. You want to be a good neurosurgeon, you have to do operations over a period of time for 10,000 hours. If you want to hit cover drive like Virat Kohli, you have to practice for 10,000 hours. That's the 10,000 hours theory. Now you say 10,000 hours is too much. No, it's not. If you calculate your lifetime today, if you start, in about 10 to 15 years, 10,000 hours is finished. If you practice 5 hours a day of anything you do, in 10 years, you calculate 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 5 hours, 25, 30 hours a week, over 52 weeks, into 10 years, you're done. So the translation of an art to a skill is only effort. And effort is yours. Nobody else can do it for you. So don't think it requires persistence, it requires resilience. If you know want to speak, everybody says, I feel very scared if I have to go in front of a mic. Sure, if you practice again and again and again, it becomes easy. You will become a top debater like Sudhakar Kaza was. When we were in college, he was my senior. Everybody was looking at Sudhakar Kaza, wonderful debater, winning all the prizes, etc. and all. So it's a skill. He learned it early. People like me are like slow plodders. We learned it late in life, but it's a skill. So that's my answer to you. As regards how do you assess geopolitical risk? So I must tell you that these days diplomats are the most prized people. I get offers from all the big companies to come and speak on geopolitical risk and its assessment. Because they say we are used to calculating numbers. How do you calculate these intangible risks? So, the grey rhino, how do you calculate it in numbers? So, again, geopolitics is so diverse that you need skilled people to do it. That's why diplomats like me are in high demand nowadays. They all, JP Morgan one day, somebody else, Goldman Sachs, they all said, you need to understand what is happening, can you please simplify it, etc. Again, so the simple solution is, you need to invest in people who can do that. It's a skill like any other skill. You do it for accountants. Is there any business without accountant? No. So if there is a business now, start looking for people who have geopolitical experience. This is the only way. This is not going to come quickly for you because they are able to assess, okay, and it comes again to experience. So there is no substitute for experience. You are not going to get geopolitical risk assessment in 1 year because it will take decades to work out, okay, what is it? I told you about Congo. 1962 Indian peacekeepers went to make the peace. 2025 Indian peacekeepers are still there trying to maintain the peace. So you have to understand the society, you have to understand the culture, you have to understand the people. All this is time consuming. It's not going to come. So you will need specialists there are specialists to do it. That leaves the last question about how do you choose between options. So I ended by saying there are no optimal solutions in diplomacy or in public policy in any way. You will always have to choose between 75%, 77%, 80%. You're not going to get 100%. You try for 100%, you are still looking for the solution. So the way to look at it is, you decide your priority and see whether it fits in with your priority. So your priorities are as important as assessing the risk. Prime Minister Vajpayee decided, I want a nuclear India. That's it. And he could have done many other things, but he staked everything on nuclear India. Even he came to power for a short period, he said, no, we must go nuclear. Similarly, others have staked things. So it's the leader who will take the call. The leader will, there is a risk, there is a consequence. All actions have consequence and leaders take consequences. That's why I ended by saying, don't judge your leaders too harshly. Leaders are human. They will take choices. You'll get some judgment calls right. You'll get some judgment calls not so right. And we need to understand human beings are not perfect. Otherwise we'll be gods. If we are humans, if you get 8 times correct judgment, you are an unbelievable success. If you get 1 time out of 10, you are not perhaps a success. So that's how you will rate people, not that they need to get 100 out of 100. That's only for the students of Badrika College when they are doing commerce or business, etc. For ordinary people like me, 60 to 70% is enough.
When they befriend others, suppose they choose, let's say, to befriend
So, you raised a very important question between values and interests. So, this is a age-old debate in philosophy. Are values more important than interests, or do interests supersede values? The challenge is, if I take values and say I will only talk to my people, I will only deal with business with the type of people who I am happy with, then you are being judgmental. Is being judgmental a value that you want? If you are a person who wants to be inclusive, you will not be judgmental because you don't know the other person's society, you don't know the other person's country. Otherwise, you will say, I'm not going to deal with Gulf countries. They are all not democracies. So, supposing I make you the Foreign Minister of India, if you become, will you say, my values have to intersect with UAE, only then I will. UAE is not a democracy, it doesn't have a legislator, it is not giving human rights to its people. Will you say no? I'm waiting for your answer, young lady. Will you deal or not with all the Gulf countries where 8 million Indians are staying, earning money, sending remittances, gaining business, becoming very important? Will you send to those countries or not because your values are not meeting?
That's the point. I don't want to discriminate, but the leaders are discriminated.
So this is what you think, that they are discriminating. So you think, please explain to me one leader who is doing it and I'll give you a contrarian view.
Trump.
Trump, right? So, did you listen to Trump this morning? He said, I like UK very much. It's a left of center Labour government. He said, I talked to KS Starmer many times. I'm liking him. I think I'm not going to impose sanctions on KS Starmer. Left of center, Labour, Trump is Republican. Then he said, European Union, I'm going to impose sanctions. This morning only. European Union, in all of Europe, the trend is where? Right of center. Ursula von der Leyen is a right of center leader. The EU Parliament has mostly right of center people. Yet, he is saying that no, I will work with Keir Starmer, but not with the European Union. So he knows where his interests are, because he is interested that European Union should not tax Google or Amazon or Meta or Nvidia. He is not bothered. Trump is the quintessential transactional leader. He has no interest in values, but he will work with everybody. So don't think he is only interested in an ideology and he is looking towards that ideology. When he was a leader in opposition, so they say in opposition politicians speak in poetry. In power they come down to prose. Poetry looks very nice in opposition, but when you start working you tend to understand that you will work, and all leaders will transcend these ideological divisions if it is in their interest. Ultimately, you have to put it the way that it suits their interest. So it's not about. So Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was left of center. President Bush was right of center. Yet India and US improved their ties during that time. So it's not. Don't be taken in by these generalists thinking that, oh, there are leaders who think this thing. All creative leaders think beyond these binaries. So they are much more sophisticated. Don't underestimate Trump as a leader, by the way. Somebody who can lose an election, come back as the next election, winning by a large majority, deserves to be studied and understood, not totally discarded. You discard him, the grey rhino will come and hit you in such a way that you will be surprised. We need to see what he does rather than what he says. So just give leaders time, analyze them better, and don't dismiss them, whether you like it or not. I mean, Trump has many qualities which we as individuals may not like. But he has many qualities which he is doing for his country, which he thinks are in the interest of his country. He is ready to work with anybody. Didn't you hear him say, I am ready to do a deal with China? He is very keen to do a deal with China. So these are not black and white things. So leaders should leave their ideological preferences when they negotiate. It will give you a better idea, that's all.
There's also another question. On 3rd December, South Korean president declared martial law. But within 2 hours, the law was abolished, or whatever, I don't know the term. But do you think if something like that similar happens to India, will citizens stay that vigilant?
So first of all, India is not South Korea. India is a country of diversity, of thousands of years of civilization. You think we are going to be like South Korea, which became a democracy in 1980s? Don't underestimate your country, young lady. It's a country where we have for generations lived together. Also, purely in practical terms, India is not governable by martial law. Simple. Because it's too vast a country, too diverse a country, too... Have you read the book, The Argumentative Indian? So Amartya Sen wrote a book called The Argumentative Indian, where he said he traced it for thousands of years. This gene of argumentation differing is very, very old. It's not something new. So don't think. So don't think that what happens in a country. South Korea, can you tell me its population?
I think it's 5 crore for 40 lakhs.
Right. What the population of Telangana and Andhra combined?
More than that. Honestly, a city, South Korea's population is just a city compared to it.
Correct. So you can see what South Korea is in terms of the people and diversity of a country like India. It's a small minuscule. It has its own situation. You can say that these are days of polarization and I am ready to accept that. But to think that a country like ours will ever become under martial law where all of us are going, people tried it in 1977, Mrs. Gandhi tried and failed. Immediately it was relieved, we all voted against her. So let's have confidence in our heritage. Let's have confidence in our civilizational values. There is no other country in the world. Tell me which country in the world with a population of more than 1 billion is a democracy in the history of the world. Pardon?
Only India.
That's it. You are a citizen of only India. Have confidence. These are not for us to worry about.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and highlighting on our forgotten pioneers of our country. And also on focusing that diplomacy is all about words and words do have great meanings. I hope by now our students have learned that we need to share our success stories of legendary people who have done great things for our country and for the development of our country. I also hope and believe that you all have learned the new terminologies of black swan and the grey rhino and keep using them so that you will not forget. Moving further, may I request all our dignitaries to kindly come on to the dais to felicitate our guest for today. We are deeply grateful to our guest speaker, Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin sir, for accepting our invitation and gracing the occasion. Today we came to know about many new aspects about leadership and diplomacy, sir. Thank you once again for taking time to grace